In July 2026, a research team ran a very simple experiment. They pulled up KFC's own store locator, then compared it against a saved copy of the same page from exactly 1 year earlier. 312 American restaurants had quietly disappeared. That is roughly 6 a week, every week, for a year. No announcement. No press release. Kansas lost a fifth of its KFC restaurants. San Antonio lost 7. And the strangest part of all of this is that none of it is new, because this is not a company that got blindsided. This is a company that was warned, publicly, furiously, by the man whose face is on the bucket. And it took almost 50 years for him to be proven right. Corbin, Kentucky, 1930. A man named Harlan Sanders is running a roadside motel on a highway, feeding travelers out of his own kitchen. He works out that a pressure cooker can turn fried chicken from a 30-minute wait into an 8-minute one, and he builds a spice blend he refuses to write down. The first franchise opens in 1952, not in Kentucky, but outside Salt Lake City. In 1957, he puts 14 pieces of chicken, 5 rolls, and a pint of gravy into a cardboard bucket and accidentally invents the single most recognizable object in fast food. By 1964, he has around 600 outlets, and he is 73 years old, so he sells. $2 million plus a salary of $40,000 a year to stay on as the face. 7 years later, the investors who bought it from him flipped the company to a packaged foods giant called Hoobline for $285 million. Sanders keeps his salary, his white suit, and no control whatsoever. And that is when he starts to notice the gravy. His original recipe was slow and expensive, so the new owners simplified it. Sanders tasted the replacement and, in an interview with the Louisville Courier-Journal, called it horrible. He said it tasted like wallpaper paste. He described the chicken as a fried dough ball. He toured stores in his white suit, banging his cane, shouting at managers about slop. In 1974, he sued the parent company for $122 million. In 1978, a franchisee sued him right back for libel, and Kentucky's Supreme Court threw the case out, essentially because the Colonel had insulted the entire chain rather than any one restaurant in it. Think about what that actually means. The founder of the company was in court, arguing that the food carrying his own face was not good enough, and winning. He was not being sentimental, he was making a business diagnosis decades early. Scale was being bought with quality, and every owner who came after him had less reason to care than the last, because none of them had ever built anything. They had only ever bought it. For a long time, it didn't seem to matter. KFC was the biggest restaurant chain in America. It had no serious rival in chicken. And when you have no serious rival, mediocrity is survivable, right up until the moment somebody shows up who takes the category seriously. In 2014, Chick-fil-A passed KFC to become the #1 chicken chain in America. That number is worth sitting with. 10 years earlier, in 2004, KFC had been more than twice Chick-fil-A's size. Today, Chick-fil-A is more than twice KFC's. Then in August 2019, Popeyes launched a chicken sandwich. The internet lost its mind, and the chicken sandwich wars began. Every serious operator in America responded within weeks. It took KFC more than a year. By 2023, Popeyes had taken second place, and KFC, the chain that invented the category, was in third. Barclays research put KFC's market share at 11.3%, down from 16.1%. Chick-fil-A's rose to 45.5%. But the number that really tells the story is average unit volume, which is simply how much a single restaurant sells in a year. The median American KFC does around $873,000. A standalone Chick-fil-A does about $9.2 million. Same country, same protein, same drive-through, 10 times the business. And this is where it stops being a marketing problem and becomes a math problem. A restaurant doing under $900,000 a year cannot afford a full remodel. It cannot afford a third drive-through lane, or the labor to keep speed up at lunch, or the kitchen equipment the new menu needs. The store gets tired, customers notice, sales fall further. The next remodel becomes even less affordable. There are now about 4,000 KFC restaurants left in America, roughly 1,500 fewer than 15 years ago, and every single one of those closures started as a store that simply could not earn its way out of the hole. By 2024, American sales were down 5%, while every rival in the category grew. Popeyes grew. Wingstop grew. Raising Cane's grew. Bojangles and Zaxby's grew. Chicken had become the most popular protein in the United States. The entire fast food industry was fighting over it, and the company with the Colonel on the sign was losing customers. Then, in February 2025, came the moment that said everything without meaning to. Kentucky Fried Chicken announced it was leaving Kentucky. The headquarters moved from Louisville to Plano, Texas. Kentucky's governor, Andy Beshear, said he was disappointed and that he believed the company's founder would have been too. He was almost certainly right. Half a century earlier, when a previous owner moved offices out of the state, Sanders reportedly exploded that this was not Tennessee Fried Chicken, no matter what anybody in a silk suit said. Here's the thing though, globally KFC is not dying. It is enormous. In 2025, the brand did $36.4 billion in system sales, up from $34.4 the year before. But only 13% of that came from the United States. 27% came from China. American sales fell 3%, while every other reported market grew. In that same year, KFC opened 2,971 restaurants outside the United States. That is nearly the entire American footprint, rebuilt overseas, in 12 months. Somewhere in the world, a new KFC opens roughly every 3.5 hours. There are more than 34,000 of them across 150 countries, and management thinks the real ceiling is 75,000. So there are two KFCs. There is the global machine, and there is the American original, and only one of them is in trouble, which raises an uncomfortable question about how hard anyone is really trying to fix it. Around 80% of parent company Yum Brands' profit comes from Taco Bell in America and from KFC franchisees abroad. The birthplace of the brand is, financially, a rounding error to its own parent. They are trying. A new global chief executive arrived in 2025. A new American president came with him. In July, they launched a campaign called Kentucky Fried Comeback, and they changed the Colonel's face on the packaging from smiling to serious, because as the American president put it, the Colonel would not be happy about their market share. Wedges came back. Fried pickles arrived. Meal deals return. And it worked. Briefly. 1/4 of 2% same-store sales growth in America, the first positive number in 2 years. Green shoots, the chief executive called it, with a long journey ahead. Then, in June 2026, came the biggest swing yet, an entire global rebrand. A 3-dimensional bucket logo, a softer Colonel, a range of more than 20 sauces, a drinks line, and redesigned restaurants the agency describes as quick experience rather than quick service. They are calling it the Bucketverse. It launches in Britain and Ireland first, then Australia, then America. But watch what the numbers do while the branding gets louder. By the middle of 2026, Yum had stopped breaking out KFC's American same-store sales in its earnings reports altogether. Foot traffic data showed total visits down 3.5% year on year. And the project that seems to genuinely excite executives is not KFC at all. It is a spin-off called Saucy. Tenders instead of bone and chicken. 11 sauces. Bright pink instead of red and white. No bucket. A company quietly building a version of itself that does not need the Colonel. Which brings us back to a man in a white suit in 1978, telling a newspaper that the gravy was horrible and getting sued for it. He wasn't being difficult. He had seen the trade being made, the one where a company sells a little bit of what made it special in exchange for a little more scale, and does it again the next year, and the year after that, until there is nothing left to trade. It takes decades. It is invisible while it's happening. And it only becomes obvious at the very end, when 6 restaurants a week start disappearing from a map, and nobody thinks to announce it. KFC will survive. Somewhere tonight, in Shanghai or Lagos or Jakarta, a new one is opening. But the American chain that put fried chicken in a bucket and taught the world to eat it is now smaller, slower, and less loved than the imitators it inspired. The Colonel spent 16 years telling anyone who would listen exactly how this would end. They put his face on the bucket instead. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel and like the video. There's a lot more coming.